Today's lesson is really tricky, so I really want you to tune in and be really focused on this lesson so that you know what to do when it's your turn to go on and do the independent practice. Today we're going to be subtracting across zeros. You guys have done really well with our poem and remembering that if there's more on the floor, we have to go next door and regroup 10 more. But today we're going to look at what happens when you go next door and your neighbor doesn't have a 10 to give you. So that's going to be a problem, right? We've got to figure out how to solve that when there's a 0 next door. So let's get started. Our problem of the day is write each number in expanded form and then write the number. So this is a good review for us. We haven't talked about expanded form in a while, but remember how we put our hands together and then we pulled them apart and we said expanded form, right? Because expanded form pulls that number apart into their own place values. So this first one here would be 400 plus 6 tens is 60. 5 ones is 5, so all together that would be 465. Same thing here, 2 hundreds is 200, 3 tens, 30, 8 ones is just 8, so 238. Write a number sentence to solve. The Jenner family drove 475 miles on Monday. On Tuesday, they drove 218 miles. How many more miles did they drive on Monday? So this is a comparison problem. We're starting with 475. We're taking away the 218 miles because they both drove 218 miles. Now we want to see how many more miles they drove on Monday. So we're going to take away the 218 and find out what the extras are. So 475. Remember, we're going to stack these on top of each other, write it up and down. That'll help us to solve. More on the floor, go next door. 15 minus 8 is 7. 6 minus 1 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. So on Monday, they drove 257 miles more than they drove on Tuesday. Write a number sentence to solve. Josh kept a record of the weather for 250 days. 196 of the days were sunny. How many days were not sunny? So 250 is the total number of days. We're taking away the sunny days to find the not sunny days. So again, rewriting stacked on top. Don't skip this step. This is really important to help you keep track. Now, we have more on the floor, so we're going to go next door, regroup 10 more. 0 plus 10 is 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 and 6 are a 10 pair. Now I have 4, and I can't take away 9, so I've got to go next door again. I have 100 left. This was one thing that we really struggled with last week, is some of you were putting 15 here, because you added 10 to the 5 that we started with, but we can't do that because one of those 10s is now over here as 10 ones. So we only have 4 10s left, and we need to add 10 to the 4 10s, which gives us 14 10s. 14 minus 9 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0, so 54 days were not sunny. Tom had 423 marbles. Mike has 184 marbles. How many more marbles does Tom have? That how many more tells us that we are going to be comparing. And when we're comparing two quantities, we're going to subtract. More on the top, more on the floor. We have more on the floor. Go next door, regroup. So we have 2 10s. We're going to take 1, so that's 1 left. Add those 10 ones over here. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. I have 1 10, so I cannot take away 8 10s. So go next door, take 100, break it into 10 10s. Again, just like I said on that last slide, we have 1 10. We need to add 10 to that, so that gives us 11 10s minus 8 10s. 8, 9, 10, 11. is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2, so 239 is our answer here. Okay, so now we are ready to do our first subtraction across zeros. So we're going to start in our ones place, and you'll notice that we have 0 on the top and 4 on the floor. Now, what second graders often do is put a 4 down here, and here's why. Because you see this and think, oh, I know 4 minus 0 is 4. You also know 4 plus 0 is 4. But when we have 0 of something, we cannot take 4 away. It's not possible. If I have 0 apples, I can't give you 4 apples. So we have to regroup. Now the problem is when we go next door to regroup, there's nothing there. We don't have any 10s. There's none. So we have to go all the way to the hundreds place, and we're going to take 100 and break it apart. So this looks like with our blocks. Let me show you. If we put these up here. This is 400. So notice I don't have any 1s, so I can't take any 1s away. I don't have any 10s, so I can't take any 10s away. So we're going to take one of our hundreds and we're going to break it down into 10 tens. Okay, so on your paper, that's going to look like this. 300s now, right? 1, 2, 3. Now we have 10 tens. Now this solves our problem with not having enough in the tens place. However, we still don't have enough in the ones place, and we have to start in the ones place so that we don't lose track. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take one of my 10 tens and I'm going to break it apart into 10 ones. So let's look back at our chart now. That means now I do have 10 ones, right? I broke these guys down into 10 ones. But now I no longer have 10 tens because I had to take one of those 10 tens I just regrouped to make it into 10 ones. So now this is going to be 9 tens. So really you had to regroup in this one twice, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We have 9 tens. Now we have enough on the top in every section to regroup or to subtract. So 10 minus 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, leaves us with 6. We have 9 tens, we need to take away 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, leaves us with 3. And we have 3 hundreds, we're taking away 1, that leaves us with 200. So 236 brownies are left to sell. All right, let's try another one, and this time I want to show you a way that you can do this that has less steps. But I wanted you to see conceptually how that looks, but now I'm going to show you a way that's called the box method when you're subtracting across zeros to make it slightly easier. So it says there are 500 experiments in a science book. If Mr. Bosley had performed 234 of the experiments, how many does he have left to perform? So same issue. We have 0, we can't take away 4. When we go next door, we don't have anything either. So we've got to go all the way to our hundreds. Now, one way to do this a little bit easier and less steps is to put a box around your tens and your hundreds. What number is in that box? The number 50. Right? Even though technically this is 500s and 0 tens, we can look at this boxed part and say 5 and 0 is 50. Now, if we take 1 from 50, 50 minus 1, that leaves us with 49. And now we can take our 10 over here, and we have what we need to regroup. So 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 3 is 6, 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay, so if I were to go back and do this the same way that I just taught you on the last page, that would look like this. You'd have to go all the way here. This would become a 4. This would become 10. But then you have to regroup again. So cross out the 10. That becomes 9. Now this becomes 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. So notice that I ended up with the same answer, 266 experiments left. I also ended up with 4, 9, and 10, which is what I have over here, 4, 9, and 10. But I did have to go through the regrouping steps of 10 next door, taking one of those, 10 next door. Whereas in the box method, you can just think what's 1 less than 50, 49, take that 10 over to the 1. So either strategy works. You need to figure out which one makes the most sense in your brain. All right, so I need you to open up to your Math in My World page 463, and we're going to solve this problem. We have learned about 200 different kinds of animals. And 126 of those animals were mammals. How many of the animals were not mammals? Draw the blocks, write the number. Okay, so let's get our base 10 blocks. We have 200, and we need to take away 126. Okay, so remember that we could go all the way next door to 100, regroup 10 tens, take one from there, that becomes a 9, regroup 10 ones, and then we could subtract. Or, because we're subtracting across all zeros, we can put a box around 20. Think what's 1 less than 20? It's 19. And then we have our 10 over here. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 2 is 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. So now let's look at what that looks like with our blocks. So we can take one of these, break it into tens. Then we have to take 1 10, break it into ones. And then we can start taking away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Leaves us with 4. 9 minus 2, 1, 2, leaves us with 7. And 100 minus 100 equals 0. So we end up with 74 animals. So go ahead and draw these blocks and then write in 74 animals. You can pause it and then go on to guided practice with me. Okay, so here's how we're going to think about our steps of subtracting across zeros. So we're going to find 400 minus 234. We always start in the ones, and we cannot subtract 4 ones from 0, and there are no tens to subtract. So we're going to look at the hundreds. We're going to regroup 100 as 10 tens. You can see that with the blocks down here. They're taking 100, making it 10 tens. Then take one of those tens and regroup it as 10 ones. Then we can take 10 minus 4 equals 6. Step 2 is to subtract the tens. There are 9 tens left because we took 1 to the ones place. 9 minus 3 is 6. And then we have 300s left because we took 1 next door. So 300 take away 200s equals 166. Okay, now if we did the box method, if that's the one that works for your brain, then we would box 40, do 1 minus 1 is 39. Regroup over here, so then we'd have 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 3 is 6, 3 minus 2 is 1, so we get the same answer. So either way, Pick a way that works best for your brain. How is subtracting from 400 different than subtracting from 435? So in 435, we've got some tens and ones that we could potentially regroup. But in 400, you can't subtract from 0 and you can't regroup from 0. So you have to go all the way to the hundreds place and take 100, break it into 10 tens, take a 10, break it into 10 ones, and then you will be ready to subtract. So take your time. If you need to re-watch this video to help remind you how to subtract across zeros, please do that. And then you can complete pages 465 and 466 in your MyMath book and upload pictures when you're finished.